Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Tradition tells us always to detach. Detach, detach. Why is it necessary to detach? It's very simple. With our attachments, we are holding that certainty in place that we are a little separate being, separate from everybody else. And we think we need to hold on to so many things in order to be complete, in order to be happy. That's why the tradition keeps on telling us detach. But then it looks always like a moral code, like as if it is something that has a certain morality in it, and if we don't, it's immoral. It's not really because of morality, simply because it makes sense if we want to be free. How do we detach? We learn to open the heart towards that which is true. We learn to get more interested in something that is permanent instead of holding on to all these little sparks that come along, hoping that they are making us happy. Detachment means that we can let go. Letting go means that we are capable to relax. Something comes and we let it go without getting all tense about it, trying to hold it. Something comes that we don't like and we are getting all tense about it, trying to push it away. This relaxation becomes more and more natural if that yearning that is naturally there is being recognized and then kindled. If that yearning is coming to the foreground, then the detachment is happening all by itself. At least easier and easier. And how do we kindle that yearning? By actually satsang, in the larger meaning of it. Satsang means that we're connecting with truth. It can mean that we keep good company. It can mean that we come together like this. It can even mean that we just read inspiring books, scriptures. Recently, somebody asked me whether it would make sense to study the scriptures, and I told him, yes, it makes sense if you are interested and you remember that the scriptures are there to inspire you to look in the right direction. If we study the scriptures with that attitude, they can be very helpful and very inspiring. If we study them simply to know more, and then we can show off with our knowledge, they do the exact opposite. So like everything, it depends on our attitude. There's a verse from Shankaracharya that comes to my mind. One of the few verses that I know actually, talking about how satsang is valuable. Satsangatveni sangatvan. Satsang leads to detachment. Nisangatve nirmohatvam. And the detachment that helps us to get rid of the delusions. Nirmohatve nischaladatvam. When we get rid of the delusion, we become quiet. Immovable, actually, is the translation. It means it, we become quiet. Nischaladatve jivan mukti. When we become quiet, it leads to liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from the delusion of being a separate personality. We're keeping that separate personality in place by thinking about it all the time, emotionally being attached to so many things. If we can stop that, if we can let go, then we become aware that freedom is already there. We don't have to really attain it. So Shankara praises the satsang in this verse because it helps us to bring the attention to the essence. And the more we bring the attention to the essence, the more that deep down awareness dawns, there is really the possibility that we can find freedom, that we can find happiness that stays, that we can find that sense of fulfillment we are longing for. That longing for it is natural, because deep down everybody knows that should be our natural state. But as long as we try to fill that sense of something missing with objects and are attached to them, we are always getting disappointed sooner or later. Let's not be afraid of letting go. That doesn't mean everybody should now get rid of everything, own nothing. We just should detach from it. We should be aware that all that stuff that we may have accumulated is not giving us fulfillment. Any amount of wealth is not giving anyone fulfillment. The super rich people, they have more money than they can possibly spend to enjoy themselves, to amuse themselves. In spite of that, they want more and more and more, hoping to get more power with it, hoping to get more control, hoping to control the other people, hoping to feel fulfilled while doing so. But it's a vain search, it's a vain attempt. It doesn't work like that. So the traditional insistence on detachment is perfectly well, but it has right, but it has nothing to do with morality. It simply makes totally sense that we are not wasting our energy for nonsense, but put our attention, our energy, and our time in the right direction to become aware that which we are longing for is already here. It's our own true nature. We don't have to find it somewhere. Here, now, timeless, spaceless. With that, I'm coming to a question that Maria has asked me. Recently, with Leora, we talked about how to deal with different opinions, with people who have different opinions. That it's good to learn to accept that they can think differently because we can understand from their conditioning, from their background, the way they function. Their opinions seem to make sense, even if we have the feeling they are wrong. Now Maria asked, but what about that pushiness, that when we experience something, or when we read a quote that has a profound effect, when we have understood something, then after that the feeling comes, okay, I have to tell the others. Then they can also have that sense of opening, that sense of expansion. Yes. And at the same time, we know it doesn't work like that. Something, anything, can suddenly trigger an opening for us. And then naturally, the tendency is there to be all enthusiastic about it. But then, when we discuss with other people, this may not mean anything to them at that moment. They may not like it, they may object, they may have other opinions. And then the tendency is there that the initial purity of that desire to share the happiness, the joyousness, the expansion one has experienced, that initial purity of the motivation gets contaminated. Then the tendency is when two people talk together and they have different opinions, even when there are pure intentions in the beginning, then slowly it gets spoiled, and actually soon it doesn't matter anymore about what it is. The truth, the essence doesn't matter anymore. We just start to take ourselves as a person serious, important, and then we want to push our ID on the other person. And then, of course, nothing good can come out of that. And there we have to learn to detach. It's natural. If we experience something happy, something joyous, that we feel like sharing it, it's a natural tendency. And we can also do so. But if we see that the other person or the group of people we are talking to, they are not at all tuned into whatever we want to share, then it's better that we drop it. And even if they make statements, they go contrary, totally contrary to what we are saying, we can accept, okay, they're thinking different, accepting that in their present condition, in their present mental condition, it looks like that is the truth. And if we start to object, then it becomes a discussion, a power fight. Me, the other, who is right. So as soon as we become aware, there is not the point now to insist, even if we have something beautiful to share, something joyous to share. We can accept and detach from that me, I want something. Even want to bring something good. Because if I'm insisting, the good of it gets spoiled, gets overshadowed by my own self-importance that I want something. I want to accomplish something. We can always talk about what we feel is helpful. If there is something beautiful that we have experienced and we feel it's helpful if I bring it to others, we can always try. And sometimes it works. And it really brings something beautiful to the other person and then to both of us. But if we feel that there is a resistance, then we have to learn to detach. Okay, even if my intentions were not pure, I just spontaneously, out of love, wanted to share something beautiful, then I see that it's not reaching. Then even that positive attitude of wanting to share something beautiful, we have to learn to detach, because otherwise it turns sour. And it goes very quickly from the beautiful, from the pure intention, slip. It goes very quickly into I want to be right. So we have to be very careful with that. Even if we want to do good, as soon as the self-importance come in, then the good is getting spoiled. And even if we still can bring some good, it's always contaminated. That detachment we learn by being alert, observing ourselves, seeing our motivation, seeing the feelings that come. And as soon as the eagerness comes, I want to convince somebody, there is the good moment to just relax, let go. Okay, it's not the time, it's not the place, it's not the moment to share that. So be it. And then if that comes from other people, they want to bring something, they have experienced something, they are eager, and then they become all pushy about it, but it doesn't mean much to our situation, to our experience. Instead of starting to argue and put the front and then goes to and fro, and again the fight starts, who is right, we can tell them, okay, I can accept that this is what you have experienced, this is what is right for you. Somehow for me it doesn't just function like this. What's wrong with that? That we have different ideas. We can still be relaxed and connect. For it's not so much the ideas that matter, but how we deal with them. Of course, there are ideas that have very much to pull into darkness, into destruction. And it's good to stir away from them. But the details, how we seeing things, doesn't really matter so much. And it's nice if we have something, if we can inspire somebody else, but we can also accept so many times it's simply not possible. So let us not to take too serious in that either. Okay, not the point, not the time, not the place, not the right moment. So be it. The key is detachment. The key is the capacity to let go. The key is to learn to consciously relax on the gross level and on subtler levels. Physically, energetically, emotionally, intellectually, and even subtler. We learn then to relax, let go. And then we are in harmony and at peace. Okay, I leave the subject. I have seen, Maria, that you are here. I don't know whether you want to say something more to that.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Maria.
Hariom.
Hariom.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it brings something. I mean, the kind of answer you've given, I didn't expect something. So it's nice, new things. Just the awareness, what you are right now mentioning about that the key is awareness and detachment. I hadn't thought it through that lens.
I meant it in that context, the awareness to be alert, to be aware what is happening, how our motivation is quickly shifting from something beautiful to something very not so beautiful.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, it's as always a perfect timing, because I feel that my awareness has grown and expanded enormously lately.
Nice.
I can feel it. I mean, thank you. Yeah, it's I can feel things and thoughts and that I couldn't before, and that helps a lot to understand how situations develop.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And in this thing about the pushiness, and I feel is connected to my personality is very social. I'm a teacher. I like I've always liked interacting with people, with groups. I learn a lot through interaction with people. So communication is like communicating with words is like a very natural tendency. And what I feel lately is that I feel like the desire is to go a bit more inward, to use less words, and to not to hold tightly, but just to go a bit deeper into my own experiences without going instantly into communication.
Right. The sharing of what we feel is right can be a beautiful expression of the self, but it's easily also just because we want to play an important role in the group where we are, and show how wise we are, and pull the attention of the people.
Yeah. Or change somebody. I mean, it's like having the thing of, well, yeah, yeah, I can see that. And I feel that now, like my work in the good direction is go more quiet. I know that I get the most out of people from their vibration, from their state of being. This is what really works.
Right.
Beyond words. I mean, when the state of being goes together with words, is very powerful. No, I'm not denying that, but it's like I feel I need to understand myself now more, that it's about being. That the contribution, the main contribution to any group and other people around is through the being, the state of being.
Definitely, because it radiates something different when you are centered, when you are in harmony, than whether you are tense. There is a certain energy in a group of people that are in a room. If somebody comes in, immediately the energy shifts a bit and adjusts to the newcomer. And so we are forming a common energy together. And then, of course, how we feel brings quite a different energy into the group, whether we feel poised, at ease, centered, or whether we are full of tension and agitation. So you're perfectly right. That brings the most. That
Yes.
you make peace with yourself.
So it's more for me now. I feel the work as we are talking is, I'm getting a bit more clear, is relying less on words, and yeah, go more inward and listen more. I know listening. The other day I was listening to a coach who was saying we have 2 years and 1 month. You know? So do double listening and speak. And I feel that helps to remember. Yeah. Thank you so much, Werner, for the inspiration of every single week. It's so powerful. Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. Cornelia, you like to come?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to.
Hello.
Hi,
Sarah,
Werner.
I
So
see
good
you.
to see
Hello.
you. Hello. Yeah, it really touched me. It touched me very deeply what you shared in the beginning about detachment, and I feel my whole being here back in my country is about that, and also about really starting to be here, you know, and accepting where I am and what I'm doing. And so I'm in this, my body's fighting it. I'm coughing and I'm, you know, my body's really fighting it.
Yeah.
I'm really sick.
Yeah.
Very sick at the moment. Yeah. But my question is about some actually, it seems so small. It's about detaching, and that small, it looks small and it's already here for me for years. And this morning again, it was there, and I just want to have your hint on that. And it's about a neighbor who drives a huge car, you know, one of these SUVs. And we living in a small street here.
Yeah.
And this morning I saw it, and I'm always attached to how he's parking his car. It's ridiculous, you know.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, but it hooks me over and over again. This morning I saw him again parking behind somebody like a centimeter, and that person can't move anymore. So I moved my car so that the other one could go out even, you know.
Yeah.
So it's so, and then I get angry and I look at it and I tell myself, hey, come on, detach, let him do. He's just doing it. He's not doing it to me. He's just doing it, you know. And with this person, I'm not making progress. So maybe you have an idea, you know, because it's so, I think it's such a small thing in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And it's there for years. I did the work on him. I used all my tools, you know, and it's just, there it is again. I'm angry at him.
But you have also talked to him about it.
Actually, I talked to him in the beginning when I moved here, because then I parked my car in the street and his mother knocked at my window, the car, and said, my son is living in this house and this is his parking space. I mean, it's a public street, right?
Yeah.
I said, actually, do you know it's a public street? Yes. And this is the parking spot of my son.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I went to him when I saw him. So when I said, listen, your mother, and I thought the mother is a little bit, you know, I said to him, your mother told me not to park in front of your house. How is that for you? Because to me, it sounds a little bit strange, you know, no, that is very important. And even not only his house, but he needs 1.50 meters of the other house also. And that is very important for him, and please take care. Yeah. I said, okay, I accept that, and I will. And You know, if my car is full and I need to unload, then please accept that I will park anywhere where there's space here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was what I talked, and some things. So, but he would just say, well, no, this is my space. And anybody who comes close to it, he will kind of push away. That's his attitude.
Yeah.
I don't know
Okay.
what to do about this.
So obviously
Yeah.
it's not possible to talk to him.
No. No.
Now, you're wondering why is it after all this time still annoying and making you angry, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. And you did the work on it, the Byron Katie's work.
Yes.
And it didn't change.
And breathing and everything, you know, each
Uh-huh.
time I noticed, and it's still there. Here it is again. Like
Okay.
like a jack in the box.
When it comes and you become aware that I'm going again in the same, down the same alley, in the same story, then just shift in your thinking. Instead of holding on to, he shouldn't do like this, think, okay, this is a good opportunity for me. This is a challenge, and I'm here to face challenges. So then what is the challenge? There comes that annoyance, the anger, the irritation. And then you don't have to find tricks to get rid of it and somehow push it away or suppress it. But then, okay, sit there with that feeling. Sit annoyed, sit irritated, sit there angrily and feel that energy and feel the emotion. And then you shifting the attention away from the situation to your immediate experience.
Mm.
And then it can become quite interesting, just feeling that the emotion there, and an emotion that we are not sustaining by thinking about a situation on and on and on, will be there for some time, has a peak and slowly fades away. And actually, it becomes quite an interesting experience. So whenever it happens, whenever that annoying fellow is doing it again, and you see that you're going down in your usual reactions, then accept, okay, I have an opportunity, I have a challenge to deal with my emotions, and not like controlling or suppressing them, but allow them for some time and focus totally on the emotion. And even if you are really angry, then let that anger be there for some time and just see what it is doing to your body energetically. And then actually anger is not such a terrible experience. Even irritation is not such a terrible experience if we accept it and relax in it. And it's interesting to see how it stays for a moment, and if we don't feed it, it simply fades away by itself.
Mm. Mm.
The first step that this is possible, to accept this at that moment and the situation. Okay, he did it again and I'm getting again annoyed. Okay, this is a fact. So let's start with that fact. And then instead of focusing on the silliness of your neighbor, you just focus on your emotion and consciously experience it. And there we become aware, actually, at the moment, I can start to detach. I can start to relax if I don't hold on to the reason why it came about.
Mm. So that's actually basically the way to deal with anything that bothers me, right?
Yes, sure.
No matter what feeling or what it is. And yeah, and actually, I was more like, why is this? That it, you know, because of many things, just using the thought, for example, they're not doing it to me, they're just doing it. It allows me to detach, you know?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Byron Katie even goes to, they're not doing it to me, they're doing it for me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not always there, but sometimes I am. But there was this thing, why is this constantly? And so, I mean, then I go to, but maybe it's just the mind wanting to be important again, what you just, the topic that was Maria, wanting to be somebody, wanting to be intelligent or find the reason or whatever. And then it's again in charge, so to speak.
Yeah.
So maybe you say more referring to the feelings and what it does in the present moment again, and then wait until it changes. And when it comes again, just accept as what it is. It comes again for whatever reason.
Right. But if you deal with it like that, it stops being something you have to be afraid of. Then the more you know the mechanism, the more, when it comes, there it is again. And it goes quicker and quicker that you deal with it like this. And it doesn't harm you. It doesn't weigh on your shoulder as when you ask the question, why? Then there is no end to it. Why? Why are people so stupid? Why are they doing in the world what they are doing now? Why are they going into wars? If you stop with the why question, it drives you crazy. But if you learn to accept the situation, accepting the situation doesn't mean I must like it and I think it's good, but the situation is as it is. And then deal with our own reactions, with our own emotions, then we can use that situation to actually learn something profound about ourselves and expand and grow.
That's a good one. That was a good one also for my situation living as I live now, and I want to be in Tiru instead and all of that. It's just I can only accept because I accept it as a challenge to learn something that I don't know yet. I am learning something, whatever that is.
And your lovely neighbor helps you with it.
And I can go on with that story for it doesn't matter. It's a story. All my neighbors help me. Exactly. And yes. And my body is coughing at them. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hario. Hario.
Hario.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? I see already one. Hello, Nava.
Hi, Werner. My husband has been sick for a few months.
Yes.
And in fact, he started getting sick when we were in India. And about a month ago, he had an operation.
Yeah.
And we thought he was going to get better. He should have been getting better. It was not something that should have lasted. And he seems to be getting worse.
Oh, yeah.
He is, he's angry, he's depressed, he's hopeless, he's just, and he's afraid everything. And I keep getting lost in how he feels.
Yeah.
And then I come out, I can be compassionate and feel easier about it. And then I get lost again, and I get lost again. And as it goes on, it seems to be getting harder and harder for me not to sink into his world of, and he's not good of taking care of things. I have to say, well, we have to go to the doctor, we have to do this, we have to do that. And that's making me angry as well. Because I feel like there's just so much responsibility on me. And everything I suggest, he fights anyways.
Yeah.
So this past week has been bad. I find that it's getting harder and harder for me not to be stuck there.
Yes, it's not easy to be with somebody who is permanently not well. It weighs on your shoulders. The very fact that they don't feel well is already energetically radiating something that is not easy to bear, because we feel that unwellness and we have the tendency to tune into that. And then, of course, somebody who is not well has the tendency to become impatient and not so pleasant to deal with it many times. It's the usual way of how it's happening. And now for you, it's important that you learn to connect with your own essence, with your own inner space. That not out of compassion or responsibility, you tuning in his level of energy, but that you bring the attention back to yourself. It's not anything irresponsible to do so, to detach actually from somebody's pain. If you want to be capable of supporting your husband, if one is with anybody who is suffering, if we want to be capable of supporting them, we don't have to tune into their energy all the time because it pulls us down on that level. But if you learn to detach from that, again, to detach from the fact that it is as it is, and are capable of bringing the attention to you, to your essence, to your center, you become also aware, in spite of that, there is something beautiful unaffected by it. And the more you can be rooted in that, the more detachedly you can deal with the situation. And then you do just what needs to be done without having always that feeling that it's a heavy responsibility. If we have that feeling of the heavy responsibility, then there is always the fear also, I could do something wrong. And then that would be not good. Then it would be irresponsible of me. And so when that fear comes, which is connected to the feeling of responsibility, then you can deal with it also as an emotion, observe it and let it go. And then you just from moment to moment do whatever you feel is right at that moment. And then, of course, confronting unfriendly feelings of somebody who is close all the time is not easy. I can easily understand. This is quite a challenge. But if you can come around to accept, okay, it's a challenge. If I'm not resisting against the fact, then he's now the way he is because of what happens to him, and somehow he doesn't make the step to detach from his situation in such a way that he can still be at ease inside and be his friendly old self. But that doesn't mean you have to be pulled on that level. Then, in spite of him expressing himself the way he does, you are still your own divine being. And the more you connect with that, then the less it will hurt you when these unpleasant events are happening. Then, of course, then also comes quickly the thought, the feeling, I'm doing so much, and instead of gratitude, I'm earning just abuse. And this is not easy to bear. It's that feeling of injustice. It's not just, it's not right. And when that comes, then you can again accept, okay, on this level, in this time space, in this material world, there is very little of immediate justice. But there is a cosmic justice. if we can, these unjust situations, these unpleasant situations, these offensive situations, if we can learn to accept them as challenges, again, use it as a possibility to become more aware of our own reactions, of our own emotions, and learn to relax and detach from those, then actually this tough situation can bring us a lot. So it's not so much that you have to find the proper trick, the proper way how to deal with your husband and the whole situation, but it's more how you learn to deal with yourself.
It's it feels like a toss-up sometimes. I don't want to separate from my feelings.
Yeah.
But then I'm afraid that if I connect with something inside of me that's at peace, that I'm ignoring how I feel. Does that make sense? I'm concerned
Yes.
about it. I
Right.
don't want to push it away, and yet I don't want to be there.
Right.
As you say, I'm no good to anybody, not to me, not to him, and
Yeah.
not to anybody else in my life. So,
and there is a bit like that screwed up notion that it's our obligation to feel bad about it, like it is an ethical thing that in such a situation we have to be attached and feel bad. We cannot simply feel good in such a situation when our close when somebody who is very close doesn't feel good, but it's wrong. And you don't have to push away your feelings. You can let your feelings come, but then you can learn to detach from those feelings. That's not like pushing them away and suppressing them. You just become aware prior to those feelings there is something that is not affected, and you are not, it's not your obligation, it's not your duty to hold on to the feelings that make you feel miserable. Although we somehow have that idea implanted from the upbringing, from the religions, from whatever where it is coming from, that painful suffering sacrifice. But actually you do much more good to yourself and to those close to you if you learn to detach from that and become aware. You can be in your well-being even in a situation where somebody suffers who is close to us. And in that way, actually, we bring much more positivity in their life than if we tune into their suffering mode.
so what you're saying, you know, the Tonglen meditation where you feel very, if you're with someone who's really suffering,
Mhm.
and you open up to that suffering,
Mhm.
and then you open up to, as you say, something inside of you that is not that, and you send it back.
Yeah.
Okay, it's, but first of all, you have to open up to their suffering. So that's part of my dilemma.
Yes, but you are there in the midst of it, you are already open to it, and it has the tendency, because you are so open, but you're not connecting to that which is prior to that, that it pulls you also in the same suffering state. And then the end result is that just two are suffering. It's not that you have to think, oh, now I have to open up even more to his suffering, because obviously you are already totally open to it. and by detaching from it, you are not pushing that away, but you are learning to connect with that purity in you that is not affected by it. Right? That meditation you are telling about is actually making it into a practice, in a technique to do what I have been talking about. Even if But even if you are not doing the meditation, if you feel like doing it, if it helps you, fine. But even if you are not doing it with a technique, just are aware of his energy and your reaction to it. And then instead of resisting against the fact that it is as it is, and observe mainly your reactions and learn to let go, then you start to touch something that is prior and that is radiating, and then that flowing back is happening automatically.
Okay,
Thank you. It's
No,
not an easy challenge, but we are here to face challenges.
Yeah,
I wish you much strength with it.
thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to? Ah, yes, there is Andreas. Hello, Andreas.
Hello, Werner. My question is more, if people are like ignoring facts like climate change, or like Germans who say that deny the Holocaust, stuff like that, or Russian people that say, well, it's just a civil war in the Ukraine, all this stuff, in the end, I can understand why people are saying that. I mean, I can look at that it's like they're protecting some of their motives, but if it's like very obvious that it's wrong what they are saying, then I'm not arguing with them anymore, because I realize that it's hopeless, because there are hidden motives that these people want to believe in this, and not, yeah, it's really, yeah, they don't care what the facts are. But in the end, this makes me, a lot of time, it makes me very sad. And like how, like people who are like that. Because I mean, sometimes I do the same thing in a smaller manner maybe, but if someone really points out a fact and it doesn't fit into my worldview, then I'm really willing to reconsider, hopefully, my worldview.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, people who really don't do that, and then this really makes me sad in the end. Yeah, I'm seeing that it's not like hasn't anything to do with like the ultimate truth, but it's still like, yeah, yeah, how to deal with that.
Yeah, how to deal with that. I mean, you can also be aware of those things that you are sure about, that they are facts. That we have also formed that attitude by hearing a certain line of information. Our ideas, what is a fact, is very much formed like that. And they may have heard other line of information and come to another conclusion and think that's a fact, what they are thinking.
But I mean, sometimes it's very obvious. Like, let's take an older example, like the former DDR, Eastern Republic of Germany. Some people said like the wall is there to keep spies from Western Germany out of Eastern Germany. Yeah. And I mean, it's obviously wrong, because like the self-shooting guns are pointing all inwards to Eastern Republic of Germany. Yeah, it's always, the whole thing was there that the people don't flee from there and go to Western Germany, and no other reason for that. Yeah, and people get shot there. And I mean, it's just, but see, I mean, I actually talked to people at that time, and they say, no, it's to keep Western German spies out of our country. And I mean, yeah, you just need to say, look in which direction the self-shooting guns are pointing. I mean, this says all. And yeah, but they didn't want to consider that.
Right. Okay. No point on going deeper into the example, but then what actually what difference does it make for you if they think like this? Even if you are totally sure what they think is wrong and what you think is right. What's the difference that they think like this? Somewhere in you, it attacks something that makes you, that you resist, that makes you insecure about your reality also. That you have to react with either anger or sadness or something.
I mean, like another example would be the war in Ukraine. It causes a lot of suffering.
It causes a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
It's
And
very,
maybe,
yeah.
There's a voice in me that's saying, how can people be so stupid and egoistic, you know, that like if you point out a fact and then they're really making very phony arguments to really deny the fact. Yeah.
I mean, there is absolutely no question that that there is a lot of suffering there. But what stands behind there is maybe not what you hear in the mainstream news. So people can have very different attitudes about it. I know about this example, and I'm not ready in this satsang to go into discussing it. But things may not always look exactly the way they are being presented. The things may not be the way they are presented. But what does it matter to you if somebody thinks differently? You have a certain view and a certain very firm conviction. This is a fact. And then you deal with that fact. And you have to learn to somehow to live with it, to be in harmony with yourself in spite of a fact that is irritating. And then if somebody comes with a totally different view and says this is not a fact what you are telling, then somehow there comes a reaction to that. But maybe you can learn to accept that from another viewpoint they may have quite a different attitude, and who knows what is in the situation really ultimately the fact.
I generally agree in a lot of situations. I agree to that you have the tendency to see my viewpoint is the right viewpoint and the other person is completely wrong. But at this, but at a certain level, I think on a relative plane, there are some facts, you know, which you cannot deny, and it is kind of, strange to say everything is like you can. There's no way to state like a fact. I mean, like who started Second World War? That's obviously Germany. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you cannot deny that.
Others may have information that the whole thing had been provoked from different sides, and then actually what Germans did was just the result of other stuff that was already in motion. More and more of that comes out. Nothing is usually so simple. It's all wishy-washy stuff that is going on, that such a thing can happen. But let's not get into the details of these different examples that you have said. But you can learn to accept, okay, some people can really see it differently. Then it doesn't make you sad, and you can accept also, okay, I'm sure there is a certain fact, but obviously another person is not so sure that this is a fact. What is a fact for you? It need not pull you into something negative if that is happening.
It makes me sad that, I mean, people are causing harm to other people because of their convictions, and that they are feeling right about it.
Yes, that's unfortunately the whole world history like this. Yes, and right now we are in an incredibly intensive time where things are profoundly changing. That negativity that has made people function like this eventually has to let go. But before that is happening, obviously it wants to desperately hold on to and manifest and take total control, that it cannot be sent away, but it will have to be sent away. It will change, don't worry. It depends how people are capable generally to open up to the positive, to the light. Whether the path to that is going rather smoothly or whether it's going very painful and destructive. But if other people cannot see things the way you can see it, but you can still accept them the way they are, then actually you are contributing to something harmonious. If you resist against the fact that they see facts differently than you, then you also add again attention in the current. So it's not that you have to somehow change their views and change them, but you can learn to observe the reaction that comes to you because of that. And then do the same again as I have been talking before. Then you observe your emotion, your energy, your tension that comes. You learn to turn the attention to that reaction instead of sticking with what brought it about, and learn to relax. And then it will rattle you less and less if you encounter people of whom you think they have totally wrong notions and wrong ideas about facts.
I mean, I like harmony, and usually I focus more on the nice sides of the person and try not to be negative to them or accept them in what their positive sides are. But isn't there a point where, for example, with neo-Nazis in Germany, you have to say, there's a line and you shouldn't do that. And if you do that, then we will, I mean, you need to be punished.
Right, I mean, if I'm not saying you should tell, oh, it's fine what they are doing. You can be very clear that certain actions, certain attitudes that lead to certain actions, they are wrong. That doesn't mean that you have to let yourself be pulled into a depression by the fact that there are people who do have this kind of attitudes and who do act like this. By accepting that this is happening doesn't mean that you are giving your okay to it. You are not supporting it by accepting that it is as it is. By accepting that it is as it is, you learn to be at peace yourself. And if you are at peace yourself, you are not supporting violence. And if we are getting full of tensions because of people who do destructive actions, then although basically our intention is good, but with our tension, again, we do support the negative.
Yeah, I found myself in situations like with a very ambivalent feelings, you know, like I need, sometimes I think you need to speak up and set a border, or like, yeah, and other time, but without totally disvaluing the other person. But this is very difficult sometimes.
Right. I agree. Sometimes it may be necessary that if you really have that strong inner feeling, that it's necessary that I speak up and say my piece, then you can very well do so. But you can be observative whether this is really a real expression from yourself, or whether then it switches again. Like I said in the beginning, it switches very quickly in that I take myself and my role important, and then it's me who feels self-righteous. I have to convince the other one, and then it's suddenly it's something different.
Maybe I have to take a closer look, but I don't think that's my main problem. It's more like sometimes it makes me sad how people cling to their opinions without seeing that it's causing harm to others, and it's basically their egoistic motives behind it, because they don't want to change their way of life or their attitudes, or yeah, they're doing it for some very egoistical reasons.
Right. And when that sadness comes, then you deal with that sadness. You withdraw the attention from what brought the sadness about. You observe the sadness. See what it is doing to your experience right now, instead of dwelling about what you saw, what brought the sadness about. And then that sadness will lead you back to yourself, and you come to a state that is prior to being affected by what is happening. And that actually is the best thing that you can do for the whole situation.
Yeah, maybe I have to, I got that. And maybe I have to accept that humans are the way they are.
I guess that's a good start, yes. Right.
Okay.
Okay, shall we leave it there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very
Hari
much.
Om. Hari
How are
Om.
you?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Vikas.
How are you doing?
No, quite fine.
I must say, whenever I come for your satsang, I feel a lot of compassion and a lot of my problems vanish away.
That's nice
And,
to hear.
And whatever you said, I will try to get that thing in my life. And I hope, but my problem, my doubt is this, that what is our purpose? Like, if our purpose is to be happy, or our purpose is to leave everything and stop this chakra of rebirth and join the Paramatma. So what is our purpose?
What is our purpose? Yes, then we hear you are already Atma. You are that perfection in the tradition, in the scriptures. And then we found ourselves struggling here in the midst of all this misery. And then the thought that, okay, somehow by mistake we have slipped out of that and have to struggle and struggle and struggle and come back. And then finally we are again where we started. What's the point in it? It doesn't make any sense. Then could have stayed there to start with. Huh?
Right.
Right. So a peace that gave me a lot of a lot to bite on myself. Wondering why should it be like this? It doesn't make sense. It happened also when I was in the beginning with Amma, and then we had the first little van. And usually I always stayed in the ashram and meditated, but then a few local trips I used to go with that van. And that was the occasion when I couldn't sometimes nail her, because usually she said, oh, when I wanted to ask question, you go and meditate, you know already, you have read enough in your scriptures. But then in that little van, I could nail her down because she couldn't run away. And so we were discussing, and my complaint was always that I feel that nothing is happening. I'm making all this effort, something should happen, and what's the point in it? And she said, if God would simply give everything like this, then there would be no purpose to manifestation. And my immediate reply at that time was, yes, I think that's true. There is no purpose. That doesn't make sense. There is no purpose. And then she gave me a reply, and you know, she had different ways of replying. Sometimes she was easily replying to rather to brush you off a bit, and sometimes it came like from the bottom of the universe. Like she just looked at me and said simply, yes, there is a purpose to creation. Well, what could I say? And it took me from there another 6 years until I could say, yes, she was right. The whole damn story makes sense. You are essentially that divinity. And we often say perfection, but perfection actually is a human concept that we think of something perfect, that there is nothing beyond that. Essentially, you are that, and that is not changing. But the experience of that essential reality keeps on unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. You are that Atman. You are one with the Paramatman, with Brahman. And yet in that all oneness, there are myriads and myriads of centers of perception, of beings that are not separate from the oneness and yet have their uniqueness. And that being never loses its divine essence, but that being starts to project aspects of itself in creations, like in this world, for the sake of learning, for the sake of unfolding. And going through that is invariably enriching, is making the experience expand. So everybody, for example, who comes to this world and goes through a lifetime, even if they don't have any spiritual ID, just by facing the challenges from day to day, just being continuously confronted with the pull to the pleasant, the refusal of the unpleasant, all the tensions that come along. Every morning we have to start the day again, get up and make efforts to just be, live our life. That is harnessing something very precious. And that remains there. All the other stuff that we can accumulate, it's fleeting, it's at the latest, it's gone when we so-called die. We leave everything behind, but this wealth is there, that we take with us. And it's not that we essentially changing because of that, but that experience, the profundity of that essential experiences is growing, is unfolding. That's all I can say. When I become aware of that, it suddenly started to make enough sense that I stopped questioning whether it makes sense. I'm sure what I know is a little aspect of the infinity there is, but it was enough that I could relax about that question and say, yes, Amma was right. The whole damn story does make sense.
Lovely, Werner. I think I understand that. So I need to contemplate. I need to grow more spiritually to understand all this.
I said also those people who never have a spiritual thought, they still, everybody will go richer out of a lifetime. But as long as we go half asleep through our life, it's usually an extremely painful business. The one is just being pushed and hits the head left and right. If we learn to be aware, if we learn to be alert, if we learn to detach, then there is a much greater intensity, and we can get in one lifetime 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 times out of it than when we go half asleep through it. And instead of just being painfully pushed along, we can start to joyfully, playfully go about it, and even living in this world, being aware of that joyousness of existence. So it makes sense also to be alert, to make the effort, to be self-conscious, to be in the present, not to think anyhow, somehow something is happening and I'm getting richer, but it's a drag if we are unaware. It's painful. And if we are fed up with suffering, we can bring the attention back to that and be aware of that joyousness of existence. You asked, is it the purpose to be happy? It's not the final purpose, but it makes the whole story much easier and more powerful if we find the access to that essential happiness that is simply an aspect of life, of existence. It's not all there is, but we are very well entitled to connect with that and to be happy.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you for the answer.
You are welcome. Hario. Hario.
Hario.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You are welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Leora.
Hi.
Hi.
I have two things. One thing just to mention, because I've listened very carefully to the conversation with Andreas, and I thought just in Israel now, as you say, magic show, the situation is, of course, it's very serious, and everybody is right, of course.
Everybody's right.
So I can,
no matter what the opinion they have. Huh?
specifically me, and then I can see how the reactions of two sides feed the process, and it has its own what's the word? I forgot the word, but momentum. It has its own momentum. I mean, this feeding.
Yeah.
And it definitely creates more difficulties and complications.
Yeah.
And that also works for individuals when we are so right.
Yeah.
And then the other person is also so right. The interaction has its momentum. And this is the dangerous situation, because it's already not the issue itself, but it's the outcoming of the reactions.
Right.
And I think this happens a lot. I mean,
it
most
happens
of the time.
a lot, all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
That basically there is an issue and there are different ideas, and instead of opening up and listening to the opposite with their ideas and see maybe they also have a point, then there is always this crystallization. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. Or we are right. Or the party is right. Or whoever. And more violence comes out of it.
Yeah, that's very sad. So I come to another sad story for me. It's about my niece. I've started meeting with her on Zoom, teaching her Qigong. And actually, she's not ready for it yet. She's too sick. She still needs time to recover. She's been through hell, absolutely hell. Really, I'm sorry for using this word, but yeah. So last time when we practiced, she said that she has a pain, which is a constant pain, and painkillers don't help it. And then she said maybe it's because of the Qigong, and then it took me time to, yeah. I'm used to, yeah. So I'm used to this kind of saying. Maybe it's because of the Feldenkrais, and both Feldenkrais and Qigong can hardly create any pains because they're specifically very, very soft ways of moving. I teach both of them. So we did what we did, and then she said, towards the end, she said, maybe you can teach me meditation so I can relax a little bit. And of course, at the moment I said yes, and then I thought about it, and I said to myself, I can't teach meditation for people who want to relax. It's not the point for me. It's not the point about relaxing. The whole path that I've been on was not about relaxing. At the end, it brought its fruits, but from the beginning, it wasn't about relaxing. In any event, I can't teach meditation. I don't feel I want to teach meditation, and I just... So I felt I actually have to tell her that I feel she's not ready for it. She needs somebody who comes to her physically, and that she can see them, they can see her, and maybe do some body work, hands-on body work, really, maybe some conversations. So now I feel I need to tell her that I don't think I can continue. I also, yeah.
And why can you not teach her, help her to relax? And even if it's not the type of meditation you have learned, that you go with her through the different parts of the body, feel them and relax them.
Yeah. Maybe I can offer that.
Yes.
Just bring the attention. Just bring the attention. Yeah, right. To the
You
breath.
can make her
to
sit comfortably on a chair, because I don't think she will sit crossed legs.
She can't sit crossed legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As she prefers. And then exactly, you tell her, okay, now you breathe in, you fill your body with energy, you breathe out, you relax.
Yeah.
And then you can go through the different parts. You feel your left leg and relax.
Yeah.
You feel your right legs and relax. Maybe she's responding to that. And then,
yeah, maybe.
If she starts to relax, maybe she can again start to do Qigong or something.
Yeah. The only thing I wonder if I should make clear from the beginning is that the pain that she has is due to all the therapy that she's been through. And she still has a physical condition here someplace. And then I don't feel I can work towards, I can work with her towards preventing the pains that she has, but more to maybe as you said, like the reaction of the body.
Yeah.
to the pain. Constant pain she has, constant pain, severe pain.
Yeah.
I wonder if I should mention that or see how it comes, if it comes.
Yes, I wouldn't necessarily. You said first you have to make clear that her pain comes from that and that, but maybe you don't have to do that. But to say, okay, I cannot directly work with your pain, but I can teach you how to help you, how to relax, and then let's go from there step by step.
Okay. Yeah.
For if you help her to relax more, that's the first step, that there is a chance that eventually she can get beyond her pains.
Okay. And then we should take also a short time together, maybe 20 minutes only, half an hour.
That's
Not
I
more
think
than
that's totally enough. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll try tomorrow.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Wish you well with it.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
All right, my friends, I think we have talked about enough subjects to digest all this for today. Let's stop the satsang with this. I wish you all well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.